Breaking right now, President Trump reportedly telling Axios he's seriously considering restarting major combat operations in Iran. Axios says his plans would include strikes that would be bigger than the ones carried out during Operation Epic Fury. Secretary of State Marco Rubio not mincing words on what the cost could be for Iran.
I saw Arachi, their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price.
This is America Reports. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. Jillian, great to have you back here today.
Thank you, Sandra. That was a great line from the secretary. It's good to be with you. Jillian Turner in for John today. So the president's comments come as this new front opens up in the war with Iran. The Houthis have struck 2 Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea. Indiana Senator Jim Banks with us to weigh in on this. Also, the debate over additional war funding.
But first, we're going to kick off with our Fox team coverage. Alexandria Hoff is at the White House as the administration explores a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia. But first, let's get to our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yingst. He's live in Tel Aviv for us at this hour. Hello, Trey.
Sandra, good afternoon. There are indications the war with Iran could escalate in the coming days. The Wall Street Journal reports the U.S. military is surging equipment, assets, medics, and even special forces to the region in preparation to give President Trump a variety of options moving forward. This does follow the 12th straight night of U.S. strikes against Iran. They have expanded the target list, not just going after positions near to the Strait of Hormuz, but also deeper inside of Iranian territory. According to CENTCOM, the recent strikes have focused on degrading Iran's ability to threaten vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, President Trump on Wednesday warned Iran directly, saying the United States would target one bridge or power plant anytime Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait. President Trump has also indicated a new warning is being issued to the Houthis in Yemen. He says that if Houthi forces attack additional vessels, that both Iran and the Houthis would face major military punishment. The warning comes after 2 Saudi-owned oil tankers were targeted by the Yemeni proxy group. The president spoke yesterday from Georgia about the ongoing conflict and the actions of Iranian officials.
We're likewise winning in the Islamic Republic of Iran, and we're ensuring that they will never, ever be able to do to us what they've done to so many.
Overnight, Iran launched new attacks against U.S. bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. Secretary of State Marco Rubio indicated that Iran will continue to pay a heavy price for these actions and their unwillingness to make a deal about the Strait.
These people who are calling us every day begging, let's do a deal, they send us messages through other countries, third countries. I mean, they're running out of countries to send. The problem is, every time these people do a deal, they either break it or after they make it, they want to change the deal. So they're probably not ready to do a deal yet, but they will be soon because the price they're paying is very high.
Here in Israel, there is a similar assessment that the conflict could escalate in the coming days. Many public bomb shelters have been opened as the Israelis prepare for the possibility of incoming Iranian missile fire. Sandra?
Trey, before you go, can I get your thoughts based on everything you just reported and this ongoing debate that we are all seeing on additional war funding and what you're hearing on that front?
The United States right now is preparing both offensively and defensively for the possibility that this conflict escalates. And that's going to require a lot of money and resources on the ground, because we're not just talking about the fighter jets and the refuelers that are staging across the region along with these special forces, according to the Wall Street Journal. We're talking about air defense systems that the United States has provided to allies like Israel, the THAAD missile interceptors, and the Patriot systems that work to shoot down incoming Iranian fire. And so there are a lot of moving parts behind the scenes, Sandra. And now when we look at the new warnings today, it's not just focused on Iran. It's also looking at proxies across the region, like the Houthis in Yemen that previously came under American attack after they were threatening forces in the region.
Appreciate
Sandra?
your, as always, excellent reporting. Trey Yingst there in Tel Aviv for us. Thank you. Jillian?
All right, now we go to Alex Hoff. She's at the White House where Caroline Levitt just wrapped up her briefing. Alex, what was your takeaway?
Yeah, well, Jillian, the questions today leaned heavily on the statement that President Trump put out this morning regarding the civil nuclear deal that's been signed with Saudi Arabia. Now, that statement he put out, it emphasizes that this deal mandates no enrichment of material and pertains only to non-military use. But in there, somewhat of a curveball was thrown, and the president saying the agreement is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords. Now, Saudi Arabia has never expressed any willingness to do this. Caroline Leavitt was asked why this was not part of the initial agreement and if the president's spoken to the Crown Prince since the condition to normalize relations with Israel has been added.
As you know, the president just put out this statement a few hours ago. I don't believe he's had a call with MBS in the hours since. However, this is something that he has raised in previous conversations and has also said many times in the past.
And if he doesn't agree to that, if Saudi doesn't, the deal is going to be dead, she says. At 2:30, the president's going to participate in an historic ratepayer protection pledge. That's aimed at ensuring the costs of data centers are not passed on to American households. Data centers, of course, the necessary fuel for AI, the race we have right now with China on that. And this week, Treasury Secretary Bessent said that the U.S. could sanction Beijing for accusations of tech theft by them using American AI to build their own models. I asked about this.
Do you think this will come up when the president meets with President Xi in September?
Well, I have had the honor of being part of some of the meetings and discussions between President Trump and President Xi, and I can tell you there is always a wide range of topics that come up. I would imagine this would be something that's of high importance to the president and of this administration to obviously ensure that America remains dominant in the AI race.
Now, later today, the president will also be hosting players from the World Series champs, Los Angeles Dodgers. Guys, we'll send it back to Jillian.
All right, Alex, Hoff on the North Lawn for us. Thank you. Sandra?
Let's bring in Indiana Republican Senator Jim Banks. He's a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Sir, welcome to you. I want to put up on the screen this report from Axios on President Trump considering a massive attack, he says, bigger than ever before. I'm close to making a decision. We are all set for it. What do you want to see happen here?
Well, this is the only thing the Iranians understand, and that's the full force of the American military. They have to feel the pain. As you heard Secretary Rubio say, you can't make a deal with these people because they always break it. And they won't keep a deal until they know that there's truly hell to pay. We've had 12 nights in a row of strikes on Iran, and each night has been tougher than the night before. And President Trump is saying, you haven't seen anything yet. We're going to take out your bridges. We're going to take out your power plants. We're going to hold you accountable for the actions of the Houthis. That's a significant development in all of this as well. The Iranians and the Ayatollahs are the only ones who can control the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas, the proxy groups that Iran has funded for so long. We will hold them accountable for that. So this is what Peace Through Strength is all about. We've got to hold them accountable. The Iranians are used to tough talk from Obama and Biden and the former presidents, but with President Trump, they're dealing with threats that the president is going to keep. They know when they're dealing with President Trump, he's going to do what he said he's going to do. So there's still more hell to pay if they don't come to the table and do the right thing and end their nuclear program and stop funding their proxy terrorist groups.
Speaking of Secretary Rubio, he gaggled earlier today and said this on the Iranian regime. Listen.
The United States is okay, comfortable leaving these evil lunatics in place.
They just can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. I mean, imagine what they would do to the world. They never said a regime change was a goal. From the very beginning, like from day one of the operation, it was very clear that we were going to degrade their missile launchers, their drones, and their factories, and their Navy.
This is a very clear message that Secretary Rubio and the administration are sending, Senator.
It couldn't be any more clear. And President Trump as well. President Trump has been transparent, as Secretary Rubio has, every single step of the way. Here's what's going to happen if you don't do the right thing and end your nuclear program. We're going to wipe out your military. We're going to wipe out your nuclear enrichment sites. And now he's telling them, and they know that he's telling them, he's forecasting to them what's going to happen to them if they don't do the right thing. We're going to take out your bridges and your power plants. So it's time for them to do the right thing. Secretary Rubio has said over and over again that you can't negotiate with people that don't keep their word. But when they feel the pain, then they will have no other choice but to come to the table and end their nuclear program and do the right thing. Hopefully that happens sooner than later.
And we need more funding. This debate is raging on.
And that's such an important part about this. The Democrats are blocking funding for our military. This isn't political. This isn't controversial. This isn't President Trump asking for money for our military. This is each branch of the military saying, here's what we need to restore our munitions, to keep our troops safe, and to win the war. And the Democrats are blocking that funding. They politicize something that shouldn't be political. And that's the safety of our men and women in uniform is completely shameful.
Okay, I want to finish off with this because there's obviously a big discussion here at home about how all of this is affecting everyday Americans. We are seeing energy prices a bit higher than they were just a couple weeks ago. We stopped and asked some of them here in New York City how they're feeling about that. I'll get your thoughts out of this.
Gas is about $4 a gallon for the 87.
I think that's
pretty high. Pretty high. And I got 3 kids in sports, so I'm driving like about 800 miles a week. So it adds up quite a bit.
I don't like paying $4 a tank, $4 every gallon, but it's definitely a little bit too high, but not much I can do about it, so.
Right now, over $5, you know. It's very high, you know.
Expensive.
Very expensive because of the war going on. That's why I think it's everybody's suffering.
All right, this says, you know, our oil prices here, our benchmark WTI topping 92, Brent crude above $100 today. Not a crazy price spike, but there has been changes in recent days and weeks as this escalation continues. Senator, I'll get a final thought on how this should play into our decision making as a country.
Well, it's important, and I don't discount it. I hear from Hoosiers every day who talk about high gas prices, and we want gas prices to come down. And the good news is, as you saw when the president, when he signed the short-term MOU with the Iranians, you saw gas prices immediately go down. Now they're creeping back up. So we know that as soon as we strike a deal and end Iran's ability to have a nuclear weapon, and we can finish the war, we know gas prices will immediately go down to where they need to be, really lower than we've ever seen before because of President Trump's energy policies. So this is temporary. I feel the pain. I hear this from Hoosiers as well. Gas prices will go down as soon as Iran does the right thing and ends their nuclear program.
Got it. Senator, I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.